Hey there, Rush Nation. Mike Crook here, coming at you again for another episode of Between the Pipes. This is the holiday edition for 2019. So, in this episode, we're going to be discussing the recent mild slump, we'll call it, that the Rapid City Rush are enduring as they head into the final couple weeks of competition for the calendar year. And we'll take a quick look at some upcoming teams that they'll be facing and hopefully what can happen going into 2020. So, stay tuned. And welcome back there, Rush Nation. So, not going to lie, the Rapid City, the Rush are on a little bit of a slump right now. They've lost now 4 straight, and the 5th game before that required overtime for them to beat Utah at home. But notwithstanding, still the season much better than last year's. I'll take it. But they did start their slide last year, roughly around this time, maybe a little bit earlier into December. But so far heading into the Christmas holiday season, it's looking kind of rough right now. They've definitely got some injuries to lick and wounds to clean up. We were in attendance last week on Friday for their Star Wars game. And, that game, it quickly got out of hand. We've got a few highlights to show over here. But it was a rough game, not going to lie. It started out strong, and I'm still a firm believer that the game took a turn for the worse, if not for Rapid City's favor, when that goal was waved off. Now, I haven't seen any kind of official explanation from the league as far as why that goal was waved off. Heard a lot of speculation as far as hand pass of the puck. I've heard speculation on high stick was involved, so that negated it. But on the big board, when they showed the replay several times, and from where we sat in our vantage point, it definitely looked like a clean goal, which would have tied the game. And both the Rush bench and the crowd on hand definitely took exception to that goal getting waved off. And after losing that 4-3 loss on Wednesday, it was definitely, tensions were a little high, and it just wasn't pretty after that. There were numerous fights, including which you'll see here tensions just got out of hand. The refs had a hard time controlling the players, and it was just a downward spiral. And then another close contest, losing on Saturday night, by a score of 4-2, with that last one being an empty netter for Wheeling. It was definitely rough to get that sweep, and then also coming off the 3-0 loss the weekend before to Utah. So right now, Rapid City at one time was neck and neck with Allen, top of the division and top of the league, and things were looking promising heading into their series coming up in December, looking like it was going to be the top two teams in the league going at it. And right now, while the Rush aren't the bottom of the barrel, they've definitely slipped a few spots. They're 3rd in the division now, 9th overall as of the recording of this on the 20th of December. And they're sitting 10 points behind Allen. So their series on the road tonight in Allen is definitely going to be crucial if they want to make up some of that and cut into that deficit a bit. Oh! Okay, breaking news, quick update. Sorry to interject, but yeah, it looks like update, Rapid City was actually swept by the Allen Americans this weekend on the road. Both nights score 5-2. So yeah, that definitely did not help Rapid City's standings either in the division or in the league. So yeah, what can you say? Rush come back home for a pair of games against Wichita to close out the calendar year. Saturday night scout night, so if you're a scout with the local council or whatnot, make sure to come on out, have a great time. But so not the greatest road trip for the Rush, but what can you do? It's time to regroup and see what they can do against Wichita. So back to the show, because next weekend to close out the calendar year, they're going to be taking on, at least it's at home, but they're going to be taking on Wichita, which these two teams play tough, and Wichita's right behind the Rush in the standings, so Both teams are going to be gunning for that at least second and third spot at this point. But it's going to be rough, no doubt. And yeah, as far as that suspension goes, the suspension against Brendan Saunier, which per the league's official suspension and fines page, it's also pending a phone hearing. But he has been suspended up through, how many games is it? I want to say he's even suspended through the Allen series. Not 100% sure on that. But yeah, undisclosed fine, and not to defend his actions by any means, but yeah, that whole game on the 13th, Star Wars night, that was rough. Emotional wise for the team, and emotions definitely got the better of him. Not saying it was that he was in the right. He should have simmered down. You got to control yourself in these situations. But having been an athlete, not in a hockey situation, but having been an athlete in high school and whatnot, tensions do run high, and sometimes they just get the better of you, and the head stops working for a bit. So. Hopefully this is a good learning experience for the team, and hopefully they've got a really good game plan coming up for the roadie against Allen that starts tonight. But yeah, it's definitely going to have to be almost a weekend sweep at this point to kind of get back into that standings. Otherwise, Allen's just going to start chipping away and further extending their lead over the remaining teams in the Mountain Division. Which is going to make it more difficult to catch up and overtake them as the season wears on, because we're coming up on that halfway point here. So yeah, Allen, it's going to be a tough one. They've been definitely looking like the team to beat again so far, and they're coming back strong. And Wichita to close out the season. Wichita's regrouping; they're coming back strong. So. I can guarantee you, regardless of how the series goes against Allen this weekend, they're going to have a tough matchup to close out the calendar year against the Thunder next weekend at home. And look for a rejuvenated and revitalized team in any aspect. I think that net mining has got to kind of step up their game and get a little bit. Kind of been a little lackluster on the defensive side of things. The Rush, these multi, 3, 4, 5 goal games. They've got to simmer that back down. 1 or 2 goal game contests, where it's a tight one, where we're having a hard time getting pucks on net because they're definitely getting outshot lately. And it's not even just by 4 or 5 shots. It's, these opposing teams have, anywhere from 10 to 15 plus shots on goal advantage going into that final frame. And yeah, you make your shots count, so maybe they're a little bit pickier about their shots, but sometimes you just got to pepper that net and poke one of those pucks in, and maybe we'll see if the offensive mentality kind of takes that approach coming up against Allen and Wichita. But I'm rambling here, so we'll stop with that one. One final thing I did want to touch on: Star Wars night. Just me as a Star Wars nerd myself. It was a little lackluster, not gonna lie. Kudos to the Rush on putting it on. I love the Star Wars nights; they're great, they're awesome. It's always fun to see the costumes of the kids and adults and whatnot. But not gonna lie, it was phone alarms are great. It was a little lackluster, minus a few things thrown up on the big board, a few cardboard cutouts around the rink. It just didn't feel like a Star Wars night like they've had in years past. I remember probably the best one in memory was, they had Star Wars themed jerseys that went on auction after the game. They had the local Central and Stevens High Schools have a drumline band on the rink, and it was a Star Wars themed drumline band competition battle, and it was just so cool. And that was, I don't even remember how many years ago that was, but that was probably my favorite Star Wars theme night event that the Rush put on. And this one just, it didn't have that feel. So Maybe if they have another one, they'll put a little bit more effort into it. I don't know what all goes on into putting these events on, but just from a Star Wars fan myself, yeah, I felt a little lackluster, and it could have been any other night. It wouldn't really have mattered. So that being said, this is the end of the holiday edition of Between the Pipes. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you again for all the support. If you're new to the channel, make sure to pound that subscribe button. Hit the like. If you're not a fan of the video, double tap that dislike button twice. Little inside joke for you that follow a few other channels. But again, thank you for all the support, and let's hope that 2019 goes out with a bang and rings in 2020 with the high notes of positivity for the Rush or whichever hockey team you happen to follow and support. And that being said, go Rush!